Unfortunately, including Miata ownership, all good things must come to an end. Unfortunately, it is about time that I say goodbye to my Miata. In this video, I'm going to go over why you might want to or need to sell your project car, and then I'm going to talk about why I'm selling this, and then I'm just going to talk about the car in general a little bit. So if you want to hear why I'm getting rid of it, there will be timestamps in the description that will help you skip to that part. Alright, so what are some reasons that you might need to sell your project car? Well, there's several. Number one, and this is a big one on this car, you don't want to put any money in it anymore. I mean, let's be honest, having a project car is damn near one of the most expensive hobbies next to being a yacht enthusiast, I guess. It does cost a lot of money, and you end up putting a lot of money in project cars. Plain and simple. So, a few reasons would be you can't put any money into it, or you don't want to. Both can happen. I'm kind of at a point where I have another car that needs work as well, and this has just been completely deprioritized. At this point in my life, I can't justify spending thousands or hundreds of dollars on modifications and that sort of thing. When I'm trying to move out, I'm trying to start my life, basically. The other reason you might end up selling a project car is because you need the money. So, the first three options, unfortunately, are all about money. Either you need the money, you don't have enough money to put into it, or you don't want to put any money into it. All are completely understandable, and essentially those are all the basis as to why I'm selling this car. Another reason might be so that you can move on to a new project, which can actually go hand in hand with the next option, which is you've simply got bored or lost interest. I'll talk about how the Miata came to be and how I've reached this decision to move on. Moving on from a project or something you loved a lot is always difficult. Even if it is just an inanimate object, I mean, it is so much more than that. And if you have a project car, you know that. Depending on the individual, but it can really lead to a lot more things. I mean, first of all, project cars can help you meet all kinds of new friends that you may have never ran into before. Cars as a shared activity is a very strong bond, and you can really meet a lot of good people that way. As have I, particularly through the Miata community. Owning this car, it being sort of a meme, kind of a silly car, you know, it is a Miata, so it's, I don't want to say a laughing stock, but it makes for a lot of good jokes, and believe me, those jokes get old fast. I don't know, at least for me, owning this Miata, it has really morphed into almost part of my personality. People associate me with Miatas a lot, you know, people always tag me in Miata memes, you know, and it's a big community. A lot of people have Miatas. Everyone generally that I've met through the Miata community or anything related racing have been generally interesting people, often intelligent, seemingly honest, and so it's just attracted a lot of good company, period. Additionally, this car was basically my first project car. I had my Cavalier as my first car that I worked on. I modified, but of course it's a Chevy Cavalier, who cares, it's really lame. You know, so I wanted a rear-wheel drive sports car, so what I did was I worked a job as a dishwasher. So my first job, I wanted to save up money for a 240SX, and I did. I saved up money for a long time. I actually had my license suspended at the time, which ironically saved me a lot of money for a 240. And after looking around, it was just starting to look impossible to find a 240 that I would want in my price range, and so I kind of rethought Miatas. I decided to go ahead and give it a shot. I was really worried about the horsepower because it was, you know, they don't have power. But when I did some research, everyone just very stressed, you know, the power is meaningless in a car like this. It's fun, it's cool, it's awesome to drive, it doesn't need the power. And after I test drove it, I found that to be true. And I kind of fell in love. And I found one for about, I think, $2,700 that I really liked. And I bought it. I think it had about 128,000 miles on it. It's got 156 now. I bought it, and I waited until I started my new job as a lift operator at American Furniture Warehouse, and I worked there for a while, and essentially that job financed hundreds of modifications on that car. I started hanging out with my buddies who were all car guys, and we were all working on our project cars, doing new stuff to it, and you know, there's just a lot of memories. Fast forward a little bit, I started my first track day, which was really epic on this car. I had tried to convince my friends to go, and you know, it seemed just kind of excuse after excuse or whatever, so I pretty much decided to do it on my own. And I went and had my first track day on my car, and it was beautiful. I still remember, I can still hear it with my helmet on. I could hear myself just like screaming and laughing out of joy, pure joy. I mean, it was surreal. It was so much fun, and just to completely unleash the car and the stickiness of the Dunlop Durezza's Z2 Star specs on the tarmac, and I loved it. Unfortunately, I didn't get to compete anymore because I had an accident, basically, not exactly a car accident, and I'll talk about that later on the channel. But so, fast forward a couple years, I do more modifications, and I decide to go all in. I buy a hardtop, you know, I put on all kinds of stuff. Basically, the modifications just poured on, and I ended up taking it to the track for a full season plus some. I met my friend John, you know, became pretty good friends with him through racing, and it's brought so much, and I'm sure there's just thousands and thousands of instances I'm forgetting that car was packed in. I mean, the car was with me for 5 years, and it was almost a talking point, or at least something that people knew I was very passionate about for the longest time. And so, you know, it kind of becomes a part of you for quite a lot. So now I got to talk about kind of why I'm moving on from it. And there's several reasons. It's a little hard to explain, but I still live at home with my parents. I'm getting to an age where I find that embarrassing. So that alone almost justifies getting rid of it. It's like I feel ridiculous to have this toy that's street parked in front of my parents' house that's just kind of, I guess, freeloading there. It seems just like a silly thing to have at this point, which is almost, it was a very depressing way to look at it. But additionally, I haven't honestly put money into it for about a year. Maybe it was last Christmas. I bought myself a boost gauge for it to move on with the project. I installed it. It was a big deal. It was a big project. But that was about the last thing that I've done on this car, and I just can't bring myself to put money into it. First of all, I bought an S10. That truck sucked a lot of money out, needed a lot of work. That died. I now have my LS400. Obviously, I'm doing stuff on that, and it still needs stuff. It's need maintenance, and it is my daily, so it kind of takes priority, but it's also sort of a fun project that keeps me satisfied. I'm not really yearning to work on the Miata. Additionally, I've done so much to the Miata, the only thing left are really big things, which kind of sucks because it's sort of like I don't have anything to do on the car unless I spend $2,000. That's ridiculous. Regardless, I had a lot of fun. I kind of ran up against a wall with PPIR Time Attack, which is the autocross practice event kind of thing that I do. I just sort of feel like it's time to move on. I've had the car for 5 years, and I think it's just time to say goodbye. I only drive it maybe once a week. You know, I don't work on it, and it's at the point where it's like, I think it would be way more beneficial in someone else's ownership, because they'll be able to do stuff and enjoy it and get their kick out of it. And it's not like I don't enjoy the car. I love it so much. It's fun to drive, even though it's really stiff, loud, just all around terrible for driving. But it's just fun, it's raw, it's just fun. And the thing I always loved about that car that always kind of surprised me, but it gets a lot of attention. Just today, when I was driving around making this video, you know, some guy was standing on the road with his thumbs up. I mean, I've watched myself break people's necks driving down. And here's the thing, here's how you know your car is really cool, is when little kids lose their shit over it. When you see a little kid that stops what he's doing and points at your car, it is objectively cool. And with that, I would like to share a quote or kind of paraphrase an idea. When we let go of things in our life and we get rid of things in our life, it allows new things to come in. That is the thought that I'm holding on to with this, and the fact that by getting rid of this, I can in the future get a different project car, so maybe not a Miata, maybe something actually fast. Just a different opportunity. I mean, I'm a big gearhead. There's a lot of cars I want to own, and you know, I can't be wrapped up in a Miata my entire life. But anyway, and I learned so much on that car. It was so much practice. Like, my wiring skills alone improved so much from owning that vehicle. You know, just, it taught me so many things. So honestly, I've been learning a lot about building wealth, and it's something I really want to work for. And having a project car, and this is, you know, no shot at anybody, it's a liability. And I mean, financially, it's not particularly wise. Don't get me wrong, I think project cars are awesome. You need to reassess that cash flow, and that's essentially what I'm trying to do. So what I mean by that is I want to use this money that I get from this car to make more money. So I'm trying to build up to bigger and better. So I'm sacrificing the good for the great. It is with a very heavy heart that I say goodbye to the Miata. I love the car so much. It's been so much fun. It's quite possible that this will not be my last Miata that I ever own. So anyway, I have found, I believe, a buyer for it who is interested, and he wants to buy it for $3,500. My asking price was about $38,000. Knowing it would get knocked down a couple $100, so I think $35,000 is pretty fair. I've probably put $10,000 in that car, if I'm being honest. Unless you go in it with the intent of making money and you're very careful about what you buy, project cars don't make money. They suck it. They suck the shit out of your money. Thank you so much for watching. Smash like, hit sub for the Miata, and away we go. Adios, goblins.